Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked. Today I'm doing a no run-through review for the newest scenario pack for Marvel Champions, MojoMania, which I know nothing about. This is, I know about the actual scenario pack, but in terms of theme or lore, I really have no idea. I don't know anything about this. Seems to be some interdimensional creature that is really into TV, because that's like everything that comes in this. I think that this is a really, really fun mini campaign scenario pack. Like one of the, they don't do a lot of these. Like they've done the Green Goblin, they've done the Wrecking Crew, Red Hood, and then I think this one. So they haven't done like a lot of individual scenario packs, but out of all of those, this one might be one of the most fun. Oh, King. I think King was its own kind of scenario pack. But this one is really up there. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, it is a mini campaign. The pack comes with 3 new villains that each kind of coincide to the overall theme of Mojo. It is Magog, Spiral, and then Mojo himself. And you can play them all individually. They work perfectly fine without the campaign restrictions. But you can do a mini campaign where you fight each of them individually. So it comes with those 3. And then it comes with, this is also pretty neat, 5 other like genres that are incorporated into their overall kind of decks, like whenever you're making their encounter decks. That is horror, sci-fi, fantasy, crime, sitcom, and then western. And each of those have their own theme, and that's kind of like the worlds that you're going in. I'm not going to showcase the genres as much, but they're new encounters. You will use them fighting against each one of these, and I just think it's kind of a cool little theme thing. And the fact that they have, your staple standard sci-fi, horror, and fantasy, but then they do throw in crime and sitcom in there, is really neat. But I will kind of talk about a little bit about the villains. So you have Magog. He's one of the ones that is like, he only has a side A and side B. Side A is for your standard side. Side B is for your expert. But basically, you fight him. He is the 99th champion, and you fight him in the Mojoseum. So it's kind of like it's a Coliseum where you have to fight him, and he's the champion that you have to beat. But he isn't won through normal means. You actually have to place these the challengers and then the champion environment cards into play. And basically, you have to try and win over the crowd by whooping up on Magog. And I'm not going to showcase like a whole lot of cards from his deck, just kind of quickly talk about what they what their shtick is. But pretty much he has 10 health per player, 1 scheme, 2 attack, and each time he hits you and damages you, you place a ratings counter on the champion. It's like the crowd swaying to his side. And each time that you defeat him, then you place 3 rating counters on the challengers. So, and then both of these have conditions where if there are ever 5 per player rating counters, you flip them. So the challengers get flipped whenever you're beating his ass, and it's tag team. So after the challengers flips to the side, search the encounter deck and discard pile for surprise contender, and put into play engage with the first player. So the surprise contender, I'll at least bring him in. So the surprise contender is this guy, just some dude with a sword and shield. But he has the villainous trait, forced response. After surprise contender attacks and damages the character, place a ratings counter on the champion. So like I said, so now he comes in with the ability of Magog, so that's ways for him to ramp up his champions. Then whenever there are 5 per player rating, I'm just going to say what the number is and then just always think that it's per player. Then after the champion flips to this side, each player draws a card. So it's like, hey, if you're doing really well, then it goes against you when it flips. If you are not doing so well, then it gives you a little compensation. However, once both of these are flipped, this is how you can win or lose. If there are at least 10 ratings counters here, you wow the crowd and the players win the game. Yeah. If there are at least 10 ratings counters here, Magog wins again and the players lose the game. So, and whenever you flip them, you don't lose the rating. So it's not like you have to get to 5 and then it flips and you have to start all over. You just continue going. I thought that this was super fun. I liked that there was kind of a race, not necessarily a tug of war, but like a race when you're just trying to just fight this guy in the arena. It came down to the wire. I ended up winning. The last time I fought him, I was actually playing the new hero Storm against him. And I was doing really well right out the gate because he only has 10 health when you're only playing solo. And I came out with my lightning bolt with the thunder weather, and it was just 10 damage. And it's like he just comes out, I'm the champion, and Storm just lightning bolts him, and then the crowd's like, yeah! So then I got 3 rating sounds right off the bat. But because the way Storm plays, I spent a lot of high damage cards, so then I still had to get 10, and I was like, oh no, he brings in this guy, now he's whooping up on me. It worked out really well. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. So that is Magog. Very fun, strong opening for the MojoMania. Then we go into Spiral. So Spiral is the second one you come across. She's a 6-armed fighter, I guess. She is interesting. She has kind of your standard across the Mojoverse kind of thing, where if that stage is completed, you lose the game, so creates about 15. But she also has another side scheme called the Search for Spiral. And there is a little bit of lore in here. You're trying to find her to help you get out of this multiverse kind of thing. But she utilizes the genres a lot more than, well, Mojo also does. The one who uses them the least is Magog. But she utilizes what is called a show. So it's kind of like the setting of a particular genre. So like the Mojo Files, this is for horror. She utilizes them, and it's to represent the genres that you're jumping to try and search for her. Because her ability, she has 2 scheme, no attack right now, but she cannot take damage or be stunned. Threat cannot be removed from the main scheme. Forcing her up whenever she would attack, she schemes instead. So it is kind of a race to quickly find her. And, sorry, that's actually her level 1. Or her level 2. Here's her level 1. She has 1 scheme and the same abilities. But, like I said, she now also has a card called Cornered. So this gets shuffled into, so you pick 3 genres, whatever you want them to be, nothing special. And you take the show from all of those and shuffle Cornered in. So with the Search for Spiral, it says after the threat is removed from here, which there's 3 threat, the player who removed the threat reveals the top card of the show card and places 3 threat here. The hero action, you can take 2 damage to remove 3 threat from here. So basically what you're doing is you are searching through the show cards, jumping from genre to genre to try and get Cornered, because once you find Cornered, you flip her to her cornered side, and now she fights back, like so, but you can now damage her. And her thing is if there are 3 teleport counters, you remove all of them and flip her back. So you have to go find her again. And then the force response is after she activates, you place the teleport. So you have, in level 1, you have 3 rounds to try and defeat her before she teleports away. This gets shuffled in, you reveal a new show, because the show deck is always cycling. There's no discard pile for the show. I thought that this was just going to be kind of a race to beat her and find her before the across the Mojoverse completed, until she played some cards that gave her a lot of damage, like Spiral Swords. There's 3 sword counters, and she gets +1 attack for each sword counter, and you have to spend 2 fists to remove just 1. That bumps her up from 1 attack to 4 out of nowhere. So she can fight back. She is pretty resilient in that sense. The rough part, and also the good part, was I played her recently with Hulk. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to play Hulk. Why not? And luckily, threat can't be removed from this because Hulk has zero way of removing threat. Well, he doesn't have zero, but he doesn't have any innate way of removing threat. And he has a high health pool. So I was always able to take the 2 damage, remove it, and cycle through this deck to be able to find the cornered. And then once it was kind of like, hey, I found you, you're in horror, and then I just Hulk Smash and do like her entire health pool of damage. Because Hulk Smash adds like 10 to the attack, and he already has a 3, so it's a 13 damage, which is already like her health, at least on level 1. So it's like I find her and then just pulverize her. Then she teleports away. I don't think she's bad. She is my least favorite out of these 3. We'll talk about Mojo in a sec, but it wasn't. The cool thing is, it wasn't like a massive pain in the ass to try and find the cornered, but just the fact that you did have to, like, someone had to take damage to remove threat, and you don't have to. Like, you can just remove threat normally from here. That's just the quick way of doing it. And luckily, as I was playing her against Hulk, he had the health pool to do it. But what sucks is that if you do find the cornered and you don't have ways of now dealing damage to her, then it becomes kind of like, oh crap, okay, now we have to find it again, and we hope we top deck it, because her level 3, her expert is, her other side is, where was it? Yeah, so when revealed, Spiral attacks each player in player order. So because whenever the cornered card it flips, it does resolve her level 3. Now, I usually don't play against enemies with their expert mode unless I've beaten them a lot. But yeah, with the villains where it's like you can't really deal damage to them, so you have to do a bunch of other stuff, they're kind of hit and miss for me. She wasn't necessarily a miss, but she wasn't a hit either. Like, if I were to do the campaign for this, I wouldn't be upset fighting her. Like, I think she is cool enough. I like the fact that you do get to see a lot of the genres, and you can just really kind of make it wacky depending on which 3 that you pick. So it is kind of cool thematically of jumping through the different TV genres to try and find her, but it's like, oh, okay, now beat up on her. Oh, we didn't do enough to kill her, and she teleports. Okay, let's now find her again just to do 1 damage, or whatever it could be. So yeah, not my favorite, but she's still pretty good. And then we go to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mojo himself. Let me find 1, 2, 3. Gotta keep all these organized. Okay, so then we go to Mr. Mojo. So Mojo, he has, again, kind of a set environment and a set mojo, or a set main scheme, which is MojoMania. And then he puts out the Wheel of Genres. Now this is, definitely very thematic. Again, he utilizes the set-aside genres just like she does, although not as many. What's cool is after, so you have MojoMania, which is when revealed, choose 1 set-aside encounter, and when you're setting up, you choose 1 encounter and then an additional 1 based off number of players from this pack. So he does utilize specifically this pack, which makes sense. But so in a solo game, it's like, okay, I'm going to do horror and sci-fi. So you set those aside. So I have sci-fi, then I have horror, and you shuffle 1 of those into just his deck. He has a very thin encounter deck. So basically, it's his set of 14 cards plus the 7 or 6 cards here. So very, very thin. Then what he basically does is he has 25 value, threat value, but it starts with 10, which is crazy. So basically you have 15 threat, but it can be removed here. But what's really cool is that what he does is he puts threat counters on, like, your hero, and basically, or characters in general, allies or whatever. If the characters ever get removed or they flip, all those threat counters jump onto MojoMania. So, like, I really don't know, like, what the theme is of that, but it's basically, like, it kind of makes you want to be more careful with your allies and also more careful about when you're flipping between alter ego and hero mode. But And how that happens is at the end of your turn, you discard the top 4 cards of the encounter deck, and any card that is not part of the Mojo, deck, so his own specialized, you add a threat counter to your character. So he just adds a lot more. So you can have, I think when I played against him last time, I had like 8 on me, and luckily I was playing a character that I never had to flip, but that was just more luck than anything. And so the Wheel of Genres is after the encounter deck resets, if there are no set-aside modular encounter sets remaining, the players lose the game. Otherwise, flip this card. And whenever you flip it, at the start of step 3 of the villain phase, randomly choose one set-aside modular set and reveal its show environment, shuffle the rest of that modular set aside, place it on top of the encounter deck, deal the first player 2 face-down encounter cards, and flip this card. So it's just once he runs out of genres to like watch or put you through, then you lose. And then, of course, you lose if that stage is ever completed. Yeah, the problem with Mojo, and I actually think this is a really cool system. Like it's a different way of thinking and strategizing whenever you're playing. The problem is that he doesn't scheme a lot, and he doesn't do a lot of damage. So last time I played him, I played him using Wolverine, and Wolverine does a bunch of damage, and the piddly damage that Mojo was doing, I was able to almost auto heal. And because I never had to flip, and it was just me, because not a lot of allies were coming out, no massive amounts of threat were ever placed onto the main scheme. So it was just kind of a cakewalk. Wolverine just walked into this dude's domain and then just basically tore him to shreds. But still, I think that he is a lot of fun. He does have some minions. He does have, he even has his own obligation that he throws in here, like for the paparazzi. Like hinder 10, choose to either exhaust a character you control or discard 1 card from your hand, remove 2 threat from here. When your turn ends, move all threat from here to the main scheme and discard this card. So he does have ways around, you never flipping and just having a pile. But if you happen to get the obligation, then it's like, oh, we just lost. I think he's still really, really cool. In terms of which ones are my favorite, I really like... It's funny because you have all these genres, but I think my favorite might have been Magog. I think the Colosseum and kind of trying to win the crowd is a lot more fun, but he utilizes the genres the least. So it would probably be Magog, then Mojo, and then Spiral. But overall, I think this is a really fun scenario pack. Very unique, something you don't see a whole lot. It's, it's just done in a way, this is definitely, you get a lot of content. I also really like the fact that there is a small campaign in here, which is something that other card games like Aeon's End started doing, where it's hey, we don't want to do a massive campaign box, but here's a standalone kind of thing where it's a small mini campaign. And this is very doable, and you keep track of it just like you would on one of their bigger box sets. So, with your identity, is Longshot in the game at the end? Longshot is a ally you can throw in, and then kind of which modular sets whenever they were used. So it's very quick, very fun. Overall, I think I would give MojoMania an 8 out of 10. It's definitely one that I would pick up. It gives the same vibe as the Kang expansion or the Kang scenario pack because of the going to different timelines. It's kind of like that. Instead of periods of time, it's genres of TV. But they all do play different, and Kang was just Kang. He did have 3 phases, though, where it's pre-Kang, then he separates you all into different periods of time, and then you all come back and fight him. This is kind of like that, except it's not just one guy. You have 3 different villains that you can just... with Kang, you have to play him by himself. With this, you can fight, Spiral whenever you wanted. So I like that it is a little bit more disjointed that way. But yeah, overall, MojoMania gets an 8 out of 10. This one's great, so... Let me know what you think of this scenario pack in the comments below. Other than that, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.